All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're tackling a challenge that, let's be honest, every one of us in education is facing. How do we design learning for a world that's constantly changing? We're going to be breaking down the fantastic insights from Principle 5 of Atkinson's Substack, which really provides a powerful framework for this whole issue.
So, here's our plan. First, we're going to bust a common myth about our students. Then we'll get into designing for the reality of their pretty hectic lives. After that, we'll talk about putting pedagogy back in the driver's seat where it belongs. And finally, we'll pull it all together so you can start building a truly future-proofed course.
This quote from Atkinson's Substack, it just hits home, doesn't it? It perfectly captures this paradox we see all the time, this dangerous assumption we make that because a student is savvy with social media, they must be skilled in academic technology.
And this really forces us to stop and ask ourselves a pretty tough question. Are we designing our courses for the students we imagine we have, or for the students who are actually in our classrooms, whether that classroom is virtual or face-to-face?
So let's start right there. The first step is to get real about who our learners are. It's time to move past this myth of the digital native and really look at the gap between our assumptions and their actual digital skills. And this is such a critical distinction that Atkinson's Substack makes. We see our students effortlessly navigating their phones and social media, and we just assume that this comfort translates to academic competence. But, being an Instagram pro is a world away from navigating a clunky learning management system or conducting proper academic research.
In fact, the source points out some really specific and pretty serious gaps in their digital literacy. Things like evaluating AI sources or understanding data privacy. And when our courses just assume these skills exist, we create what's called a hidden curriculum that can unfairly penalize students, especially those from backgrounds with less access to technology.
So, what's the solution? Well, it's all about building in support. By scaffolding these digital tasks, giving them guides, tutorials, some low-stakes practice, we make our assessments way more equitable. A student's grade should reflect their understanding of biology, not their ability to wrestle with a piece of software.
And I think this is a brilliant way to think about digital skills. It is not one size fits all. You've got a vertical axis where skills get more complex over time, and then you have a horizontal axis based on the discipline. Think about it. The digital tools a nursing student needs are completely different from what a fine arts major requires. So the real question is, where do your students fall on these axes?
Okay, so now that we've got a clearer picture of who our students are, let's pivot to our second sub-principle, how we can design our courses to actually fit into the reality of their lives.
Let's be real. The reality for so many of our students is that they are incredibly time poor. They're juggling classes with jobs, with family responsibilities, with long commutes. And as Atkinson's Substack points out, a lot of their learning happens in these little pockets of time. The 15-minute bus ride, the half hour before picking up the kids. And that reality means we have to rethink the old ways. That traditional hour-long recorded lecture, it's really tough to engage with on a small phone screen, and it puts a massive cognitive load on a student who's probably already distracted. The alternative is designing for these micro-learning moments. Short videos, quick quizzes, text you can actually scan.
And look, this isn't just some new educational fad, right? It's actually grounded in really solid research. Cognitive load theory reminds us that our working memory isn't infinite. By breaking content into smaller, focused chunks, we make it so much easier for students to actually process and remember the information. And that's the goal, isn't it?
But this all brings up a really important question about what we even mean by innovation. Is it just about buying a new tool? Or are we just digitizing our old materials and creating what Atkinson's Substack brilliantly calls the PDF graveyard? Or are we truly rethinking our approach from the ground up?
So here's the bottom line. According to the source, true innovation isn't about flashy new software. In our world, it's only valid if it can demonstrably improve student learning outcomes, not just clicks or views, but actual learning.
Which, leads us perfectly into our third and, honestly, maybe the most critical sub-principle, putting our pedagogy before the technology.
We have all seen this. The email goes out about the shiny new software platform that's going to magically solve all our teaching problems. Atkinson's Substack has a great name for this, techno-solutionism. And it's so tempting, but it's flawed, because at the end of the day, technology is a tool. It is not a silver bullet for a complex problem like learning. So instead, what's recommended is this pedagogy-first model. You always start with the learning objective. What do you want your students to be able to do?
Then you choose the teaching strategy that's going to get them there. And only then, as the very last step, do you pick a technology that supports that strategy.
And what's great about this pedagogy-first approach is that it's also just really pragmatic. It keeps us grounded in the tools that are actually available and supported at our institutions. It's about designing what's possible and effective right now, not building castles in the sky with tech we can't even access.
All right, so let's tie all of this together. How do we actually weave these three powerful ideas into a cohesive strategy for designing our courses for the future?
It really boils down to these three pillars. Number 1, design for your real learners by scaffolding the skills they actually need. Number 2, design for versatility with flexible, mobile-friendly content that meets them where they are. And number 3, always design with a pedagogy-first mindset.
But at the end of the day, this is about so much more than just getting students to use today's technology. The real goal is to design within what Atkinson's Substack calls an anticipatory framework, to prepare our students for the digital tools and trends that are going to shape their professions for years to come.
And that leaves us with a final, and I think pretty challenging question to take away and reflect on. When you look at your own courses through this lens, are they truly designed for anticipation, or are they at risk of becoming obsolete? Definitely something to think about.